Hello and welcome to Faithfully Stampin' with Jennifer Helm. I am Jennifer Helm, the Faithful Stamper, and I'm an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up! Today I have for you a different kind of card. It's a non-traditional card base, but this is one, it was inspired by a swap I got at an event, and I really liked it, so I wanted to try it for myself. And I thought at first it was going to be kind of complicated, but it turns out it's really not. So it does take a little bit of time with a die cutting machine, but once you get the hang of it, you can kind of breeze through them. So this is a tri-fold arch card. I use Silly Safari for the stamp set. And this is great because it can actually stand up, either all the way open or kind of even partially open. So it could be a display piece as well as a card. So let's go ahead and get started and I'll show you how to make it. So what we're going to use for this card, I'll start by showing you that. So I mentioned the Silly Safari stamp set, and we'll talk about this a little bit more in a few minutes. And then the Everyday Arches. Now we're not going to use the stamp set on this particular card, but I brought this out because I keep my Everyday Arches dies on a magnetic sheet within the stamp case. I try to do that with any dies that coordinate. Some of my standalone sets, like my Stylish Shapes, I keep separate, but these I wanted to keep in the stamp case because they do coordinate beautifully with the stamp set. And there is an additional stamp set as well, Arched Wishes. That's an online exclusive you can check out. All products can be found at thefaithfulstamper.stampinup.net. So tonight we are going to use the three largest sizes. So this is the largest, second largest, and then third largest. You'll hear me refer to these in a little bit. And so I just wanted to show you them so you're not confused. And these work with our die cut machine, our cut and emboss machine. So if you have any questions, I know you can find tutorial videos, and I do show them on occasion online, but I'm not going to actually show you the die cutting tonight because we'd be here a little bit. So let's go ahead and see what we need for the pieces. So this card is Garden Green. I'm actually going to make this one in Old Olive. And so we need to cut two of the largest of the arches and then one of the second largest arch. So that's what I was talking about with those three sizes. Now, totally lost that train of thought. We'll see if it comes back. So three cut in Old Olive. You can see there's this beautiful stitching detail on all three of them. Now, so we want the two largest, numbers 1 and 2, and then the next largest is panel number 3. And I have them all face up with the beautiful stitching facing up. For this first one, we are going to turn it over, which makes the beautiful side the front of the card. Now the back side isn't ugly, it's just a little less polished looking, but nobody's going to even notice that because they're going to be so bowled over by the whole card that you really can't tell. So it's your little secret, right? Okay, so let's start by connecting these together. To do so, you will need a cardstock strip that is 1.5 inches tall by 6 inches wide, and you're going to score it twice, once at 1 1/8 and once at 5. And normally when I score the part that is kind of has the divot in it or the dip, I usually put that down and fold in on that. I'm actually going to do it the opposite way and have that facing up and fold in. I found it just works a little bit better. And I am trying to give you all the tips and tricks to know how this card goes together. So you can fold on your score lines, just make sure they're nice and crisp, and that if you've got one that's a little wonky, maybe off kilter a little bit, just kind of encourage it to be a nice straight fold because it'll help you get your card together better. For most of this card, you can use whichever adhesive you like. I'm going to recommend for this particular piece that you use a sturdy adhesive. You could use tear and tape if you liked, you can use liquid glue, or I'm going to use Stamp and Seal Plus, which is a little bit firmer grip than Stamp and Seal. Just on the off chance that this card might want to pull apart, I want to make sure it stays put. So I'm just going to put my Stamp and Seal plus on just on the back part here. And so if you've got a ruler or grid paper, you can keep things nice and straight. But I put this panel close to the bottom. It doesn't have to be right on the bottom edge. I give it just maybe 1/4 of an inch. Make sure your fold line, your score line is flush, and then your panel is even, because this is how we're connecting all 3 panels together. So now what you're going to do is put more adhesive on one of the end panels. Make sure they're folded over, like folded in towards the middle. My glue's been working all day. It's waited for camera time to be persnickety. Now, you don't want to jam these together and have them overlapping or anything like that, because then your card won't quite work right. So just push them together gently, and then make sure that they're even across the bottom. As I said, if you've got a ruler, maybe I'll do this. Maybe that'll help. You just want them to be level so that they do stand up and it's a beautiful appearance when you get your card all together. And just fold it open and give it a little press. You can fold it in. You can make any corrections now if you need to before that adhesive really sets. And then we're going to do the same thing on that other side. Fold that flap in. I'm going to turn mine so I have less paper here to fight with. And again, line them up together, not too hard. Just kind of gently bumping into each other. And that looks level. And I'm going to fold that open. I'm going to check. Maybe give it a wiggle if you need to. Yeah, perfect. And then there we go. So now we're going to talk about decorating the front and the back. So we cut some more arches. We need 1 extra because we've got 3 of the second largest, which is the same size as this end piece. That is going to be for the first 2 panels and the front of the card. And then we need 1 of the third largest, and that's going to be the decoration for this piece. Now, you're gonna see I cheated a little bit and I did some pre-stamping because I didn't want you to spend all night watching me color. So we'll come back to the front in a minute, but I'm a very visual person, so I like to lay mine out and kind of see what I'm doing here. Now, you might wonder why my rhino is floating in the air. And that's because we're going to add some designer series paper or DSP strips to the bottom of these panels. Now there's 3 altogether. 2 of them are 1.5 inches tall by 3 3/8 of an inch. And then the third one is only 3 1/16 of an inch. That's for the smaller panel here. So you can see, if I hold them correctly, very similar, but there's one piece that's a little bit shorter. And I purposely put my rhino so he could be seen. So what I did was I actually took my paper, flipped it over, and figured out where I wanted to stamp him using the paper as a guide. You could also use a ruler and some pencil marks to kind of help you figure out where you want things to go. So let's go ahead and decorate. We've got the card base assembled and we just need to get these pieces put together. So let's start on the inside. I have Cajun Craze ink, which I'm using for all my writing today. And let me pull my card out for quick reference because we've got lots of messages in here. So for the middle piece, and I pull everything down to work on, we are going to do Happy Birthday You Party Animal. I love this set because it's cute and fun, great for girls and boys. So this piece is going to go in the middle. Now, if you're looking at this thinking, I don't want to use all that space with that designer series paper, you can leave it off or you can cut it shorter. Maybe make it 1/2 inch, totally up to you. Okay, so now on this one, we are going to add another little jungle friend. I almost said forest friend. Jungle friend is definitely more what I'm going for. Now this time, no coloring required because I have my little zebra pal, but I'm gonna flip my paper over like I just mentioned, and use my black, Tuxedo Black Memento ink. And this way I can really kind of tell where I want my zebra to be. Okay. And so when I flip the paper over, oh, perfect. This little guy or gal gets Hakuna Matata. Any Lion King fans here? It makes me want to, oop, I totally did that in the wrong color ink. Ooh, I'm glad I caught that before I put it down. Wouldn't have been the end of the world, but I like it much better in Cajun Craze. Whew. That was a close one. There we go, much better. Okay, so that one goes there. Now to my little rhino friend here, I'm gonna add, I think I got a little smudge of ink there. That's okay. I'm gonna add, woohoo, it's your birthday. We gotta get all the party messages in here, right? Got that in the right color ink. Okay. So while we've got the stamping out, I might have to trim those pieces just a smidge. That's gonna bother me. Let's go ahead and talk about the front of the card. Now, I cheated again and I pre-stamped and colored because I didn't want to bore you to death watching me color this giraffe. It takes a little bit of time. So let's go ahead and finish the stamping and hope I can finish the rest without too many mistakes. All right, so I have my Stampin' Pierce mat because these are photopolymer stamps. I've kind of been brave up till this point, but for the rest of the card front, I want to make sure it comes out perfect. So I'm going to stamp It's Your Day, Go Wild. But there's one important thing I wanted to mention about these photopolymer stamps. Now, this is not specifically made to go with this arch. It does work. There's a perfectly sized punch. I think it's 1 7/8 inches, maybe, that was made specifically to bundle with this. But that doesn't mean you have to use it exclusively with that circle punch. So I like the look of the arch, but, and I'm going to show you with one of the stamps I'm not using, the arch that they have was a little small, and I didn't really like how it looked. It didn't quite flow with the arch of the card. So the great thing about these photopolymers stamps is they have a little stretch. So all I did was I took my block and I stretched the stamp. I turned it over so the stamp part is up and the flat part is down, and I just kind of stretched it out on the block. And so you can see here, let me see if I can show you. I didn't change the arch all that much. You might not be able to tell, especially because it's sticking to my fingers, but I did just kind of stretch it a little bit, enough that I'm happy with it. So you can do that with some of your photopolymer stamps. If you've got a slight curve and you've got a straight stamp, bend it a little bit. Or if you've got a curved stamp, I don't know that I could totally stretch that one out so it would be straight, but I could give it a go. So anyway, Cajun Craze ink. I'm gonna put this one, I'm not going too close to the top, and I have a reason for that. Because I want to add some greenery. I want to make this little guy look like he's in the jungle. So I think I'm done with the Cajun Craze ink. And I'm going to use Garden Green and Old Olive for my greenery. Do you ever catch yourself repeating the same word when you're talking? I caught myself doing that just now. It's bugging me. Okay. So Garden Green and Old Olive. I think I'm going to start with my Old Olive up here. And I brought over this white piece of paper because you could see I would totally ruin my work surface if I did not, as I'm stamping off the page. So I'm just going to do a couple more leaves here. Definitely giving this a jungle look. But I love how easy it is just by alternating colors. Whoop. Helps if you don't move your paper. And your leaves. All right, I think we're gonna go with that. Close up my ink before I have a disaster. It's been known to happen. Okay, now let's finish up our little giraffe friend here. I colored him in blends. I stamped him in that Tuxedo Black Memento ink. Oh, which reminds me, I gotta come back in a second and show you that giraffe stamp, and I'll stamp the envelope. And I got ink on my finger somewhere. But I colored him or her with light pecan, or no, I didn't. I colored the giraffe with Dark Daffodil Delight. I'm coloring with Light Pecan Pie now. So I'm not doing a whole lot of shading. I'm just really coloring him in. Because again, I didn't want to take all night. But I love that Stampin' Up! Really makes me look like a professional colorer with their beautiful artwork. Now I could get real heavy into the shading and the blending. I really don't have that gift. Some of the demonstrators I know are phenomenal colorers with the blends. Ugh, I'm so jealous. Most of the time I might add some little accents, but I do more coloring than blending, I think. I'm just filling in the spots here with the Light Pecan Pie. And I could have brought over the Dark Pecan as well. But what I decided to do to save myself one extra step is I've got all my spots colored in now, but you saw I did this strip of hair. Is that what giraffes have down? This wonderful part on the back of their neck. I don't know what it's called. It blends right in with the spots. So what I'm just gonna do is with a couple of them here, I'm gonna go over the spots to make them look a little bit darker and just kind of pull them out a little bit from the same color. And I could really go over them as many times as I wanted, but I don't want to bore you to death. So let's see. I think we're gonna call that good. And one last touch. You can probably not even see it, but I can see it. There's just a smidge of pink where you can see inside the mouth. So I'm gonna add a little light flirty flamingo to that. All right, so let's get to assembling. I'm gonna pull this over. Actually, I lied. Before we assemble, I'm gonna stamp really quick on my envelope because I wanna do my cute little giraffe friend. So again, I could really do him in any color, but I'm sticking with that Tuxedo Black Memento ink. I can see that I've got nice ink coverage. Gonna turn it sideways since he's a tall friend. Look at that, isn't that cute? I'd love to get that in the mail. That would just make me smile without even seeing the card inside. All right, so there is all the stamping. Now let's get to the assembly. Envelope is done. So, I'm gonna bring these over again, visual learner here. And I think I am going to just trim a smidge off these panels because that one little ink smidge is gonna bother me. But of course, let's see, if I do it for one, I gotta do it for all. So bear with me 1 second. Because of course it wasn't on the middle piece, it was on the end piece. And I would have noticed. There we go. Now let me find the small one again. So first up, I'm going to take my Stampin' Seal because my Stampin' Seal Plus because my seal ran out and I'm not gonna fool with the refill. Now I trimmed the paper specifically to fit within the stitching so that you can still see that beautiful stitch design all the way around. If you want, you can just totally cover the whole bottom, or as I said earlier, you could leave it off. Whatever you want to do. So once these 3 panels of Designer Series paper are on, we're going to glue our panels in the card. So here's the middle one, middle inside. And again, for this part, you can use whatever your favorite adhesive is. I really only use the Stampin' Seal Plus specifically for those, for that adjoining piece. And these pieces are actually gonna help make sure that it stays because I'm covering them up and they're not going anywhere. And it really seamlessly blends in, which I love. Okay. Final inside piece. Now I can fold the card shut. My beautiful giraffe friend goes, oh, on the outside. Now listen, you were doing so good here. What happened? We were nearly done. I've got glue on my fingers. Ugh. I said persnickety and he took it as a challenge. Here we go. Come on. I'll baby it the rest of the way. Don't know why. Probably was pressing too hard because I was in a hurry. Because I don't want you sitting here tapping your finger or your feet thinking, is she done yet? Show me the samples. We're almost there, I promise. Okay, so I have to have a little bling, right? So I went with the most jungly bling I could think of, which is our beautiful adhesive back textured dots. Some of my favorite embellishments are these brushed embellishments. I really love them. I buy lots of them. Oop. All right, come on. Also going off the rails here. My take your pick tool is adding to the challenge. But I love it for placing my my gems. Okay. Try to get everything back on camera here. So here we go. Ooh. Totally almost threw my paper trimmer on the floor. That would have been a loud crash. So here we go with our Silly Safari card. Again, lots of fun for somebody to get, put open on the table, display on the mantle. Now I made a couple of samples for you. I did mention that I would show you the original inspiration for the card. So this was the swap I received. I realized I didn't have any big florals to do something similar. So that's why I went with the Safari and some different things. This was made by a gal named Sherry Lewis. Beautiful card, beautiful inspiration. Now she did add a sentiment with a pop-up die underneath. So my card does not have dimension to it at all, but you can obviously add some if you want. So I made one with the terrific toadstools. So here we go. I added a strip of Designer Series to the front, Designer Series paper to the front, and I added a panel inside as well. So this was an extra piece, but I just liked the look of it. It would have looked fine plain, but I definitely wanted to add a little something there. All coordinates. You can also showcase your beautiful Designer Series paper if you have a larger panel or a print. This is our beautiful gallery DSP. I simply stamped the birds on for an accent. I couldn't decide on a sentiment I liked for the front. I added my sentiment here on the inside, and I cut my panels shorter. These are 1 inch tall instead of 1.5 inches, and I went with the cloud cover on the inside instead of basic white. Now this last card is a special request. My husband asked me to make a card for someone special, and I'm not going to say who in case they happen to see the video, but work smarter, not harder. So I kind of did a 2-for-1, and he gets a card and I get a beautiful sample to show you. This is the You Are Beautiful stamp set that is in our line. Room for him to write his message. More of that beautiful gallery paper, and then the Faith Collection stamp set, and the sentiment is retired, but the cross here is part of the Faith Collection stamp set, as well as these little accent stamps. So there we have our tri-fold arch card. So I hope you enjoyed learning how to make that. I hope you give it a go. If you have not already done so, I'd love for you to subscribe here to the YouTube channel. You can also follow me on Facebook at The Faithful Stamper. I do Monday live videos there. I offer challenges and share lots of incentives that Stampin' Up! Has to share with you as far as product sales and things like that. So feel free to check that out. If you're interested in a paper copy of the catalog, please feel free to reach out. I'm happy to get you one if you don't have a demonstrator you're currently working with. And of course, you can check everything out online. We have kits and online exclusives, new products every month. So there's a lot to see and a lot to check out. Thank you so much for watching. Take care and happy crafting.